Welcome into the Sports Objective. You're watching 23 Jungle Tales presented by PGX Gloves. PGX Gloves, owned by former Pirate third baseman Mark Minikazi, specializes in customized baseball gloves and batting gloves. They also have wide receiver gloves, sharp-looking hoodies, and other wearables with that PGX logo that has a lion with the baseball in its mouth. If you're in the market for any of those items, check out pgxgloves.com today. We appreciate everyone tuning in whenever and however you're watching, whether it's right now live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, or archived on any of those platforms. And remember, our show can be found pretty much anywhere podcasts are found, including but not limited to Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, and Spotify. On this edition, we're visiting with former Pirates shortstop from 2014 and 2015, Hunter Allen. Hunter, we appreciate your time this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bubba.
Absolutely. Appreciate you coming on. And we know, as folks can see there with your picture, you're currently an assistant coach on Billy Godwin's staff at UNCG, and we'll talk about that here in a little while. But just tell folks, and obviously you're someone, you and your family have deep roots with the game of baseball. So just, prior to your time at East Carolina, you came from Brunswick Community College. So just talk about your upbringing and, your background in the game.
Yeah, definitely. Fortunate enough to grow up around the game all my life. My dad's been a head baseball coach in high school, and then he was and is still the head baseball coach over at Brunswick Community College. So really had no choice but to be around the game of baseball and learn every chance I could. So basically, ever since I can remember, been on a baseball field and trying to take bits and pieces anywhere I can and apply them to daily life.
So during your upbringing, being exposed to the game as much as you were, talk about a moment or two that maybe really stood out, maybe some of your dad's top players or ones that really made an impact on you.
Yeah, definitely. I think, my dad was a high school coach for a while, and fortunate enough, he had good enough players to win 10 high school state championships. So just being able to watch those teams grow. And, there was not really one player that stood out. It just seemed like every year, being a young guy and just watching it happen, it was like every guy was my favorite player. And then the next year they'd roll in, it'd be some different guys. And so just every year getting to hang around those guys. And obviously when my dad was a high school coach, I was younger, elementary school age. So just being able to see those guys and be with them daily was like I was on top of the world there. So that started it out and started my love for baseball and the game, and kind of kept me moving in the direction I'm in now.
Yeah, that's an awesome experience, like you said, no matter what, but to be exposed to that much success throughout your youth. I know that really boded well for you, as you moved into your career and, being able to be a part of some tremendous cultures, both at Brunswick as well as East Carolina.
Yeah, definitely. I pick with my dad all the time. He's created a competitive attitude in me for sure, and he's that way and would never let me win. And the day I beat him in ping pong, he hasn't played me since. I was in about the 10th grade. So he would crush me, and then finally I beat him one time, and he has not picked up a paddle to play me since. So that's the competitive nature I've grown up around and learned from a young age. So
tell us about your high school career, and then making that decision. You played your first 2 years of collegiate baseball there at Brunswick, and so just tell us about those times, and then move on to your recruitment to East Carolina to play first for Billy Godwin, who you're now coaching with, as I mentioned in the open, at UNCG, and then we'll get into that transition to your senior year with Cliff Godwin.
Yeah, definitely. Coming out of high school, I was probably about 150 pounds, 160 pounds, not quite ready to move off anywhere big time, and so coming out of high school, the best decision for me and my dad sat down and kind of had a long discussion. Obviously playing for my dad, it was kind of, do I want to do that? Do I not want to do that? And we sat down and he kind of laid out the guidelines of this is what it's going to be. I'm going to allow you to move out and live on your own and be normal. I'm not going to treat you like a coach's son. You're going to get punished like the rest. And so I was able to go to Brunswick and have 2 good years there and enjoy it. Some great teammates and some guys I still talk to this day. And I was able to mature in a lot of ways, both talent-wise and physically, body-wise, putting on about 15, 20 pounds. So getting stronger there and able to move forward. And then going into my sophomore year, basically the fall of my sophomore year, was fortunate enough to get an offer to come play at East Carolina, and without hesitation, I jumped all over it, and kind of led me to the path I'm on today. You know, obviously came to East Carolina and enjoyed it there for 2 years. Was a student assistant on the staff in 16. Left for about a year and a half, and Coach Cliff hired me back in the fall of 17, going into 18, basically, to be a volunteer there, 18 and 19. So right before I took the job over at UNC Greensboro.
Before you made that decision to play your junior and senior seasons for East Carolina, obviously, like we've referenced, and you're an Eastern North Carolina kid, you're well aware of the success of East Carolina baseball and what it means to the region, not only Greenville, but just throughout Eastern North Carolina and really the whole state. People know the type of success East Carolina baseball has had down through the years, with all the super regional appearances and so forth, hosting regionals. And just before you chose East Carolina, and did you really even consider anywhere else?
Growing up, I was always a Clemson fan. My dad played at Clemson, so that was always, in the back of my mind. But, in high school, basically, I was fortunate enough to go to a few games at East Carolina and watch them and just see the atmosphere. So that kind of started leaning me towards that direction. And then went a couple times when I was in college, my freshman and sophomore year, to watch a couple games, and just the atmosphere continued to grow and get better. And I was like, if I get a chance to be here, this is what I want. So really, once I got that decision, there was no hesitation. Once Coach Billy offered me the spot to come and everything like that, it was kind of no hesitation. I knew that's kind of where I wanted to be. I'd done my homework beforehand, and when I got the opportunity, I didn't really even want anything else, honestly. So I went ahead and jumped on it and enjoyed every second of it, for sure.
So after arriving to Greenville, tell us about that transition to the Division I ranks, and in the 2014 season, your first year with the Pirate program. You played in 46 games, started 37. Most, if not all of those, were at shortstop. And then you hit over 300, which ranked third on the team, 308 to be exact. And you also did a nice job laying down, I think, with the team high 14 sack bunts.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think coming in, the transition kind of to me, the thought process was baseball is baseball. Whenever I transitioned in, that was kind of my thought process. And then, just playing it every day and learning that the speed of the game was a tick faster than it was at junior college. And fortunately, I was able to play with some good teammates, some older guys that actually kind of took me under the wing and said, this is how it goes, and this is what you need to look for. This is, this is that. And so just being around them and learning basically the speed of the game, and obviously the crowds were way bigger at East Carolina than anything I witnessed in junior college. So that was probably the hardest adjusting point, is the speed of the game and the crowds, just being able to kind of focus on what you're doing and block the rest of it out.
You talk about some of those tremendous crowds, both at Clark LeClaire Stadium as well as on the road. Do you have any specific memories of your 2014 season as far as maybe a specific game, or maybe a big hit you got, anything of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, it all runs together for sure. I think there's no specific. I just remember, taking the field, whether it was a midweek game or the weekend, and you've got Pirate fans going crazy everywhere. So just that atmosphere in general, if you can't get up and play for that, you're in trouble and definitely in the wrong spot. Even leading into my coaching career, when we were hosting regionals there, it's like, man, the atmosphere, you could almost feel it on you.
So talk about, that 2014 season. The program went 33-26. Not a bad year by any means, but very high expectations, as we all know, with East Carolina baseball, and the university leadership, Terry Holland and company, decided to go in a different direction and made the decision to hire Cliff Godwin. So talk about that time and just what it was like during those years.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember I was still up on campus. Actually, had chosen to take summer school because I'd gotten hurt, pulled my hamstring in the my junior season. So talked with the strength coach and actually even Coach Billy Godwin, and we had decided that I needed to stay in summer school and get stronger and be in the best shape possible going into my senior year. So I was actually there in summer school when it all went down, and meeting Coach Cliff too. The first day we met him, he kind of called the guys that were in summer school in and introduced himself, and we were able to sit and talk with him, and he kind of just embraced us, and we just went to work from there.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to step on you there. I had some technical difficulties, but yeah, during that transition, just talk about how important that fall was. I mean, the fall is always important. That goes without saying. But during a coaching change with Coach Cliff Godwin implementing his culture and his philosophies and so forth, and just talk about that fall of 2014.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in any sport when you have a coaching change is just learning the new aspect of bunties, first and third, offense, signs, this, that, and the other, and just the expectations of it. Moving from Coach Billy, who had high standards and high expectations, to moving to Coach Cliff, who had the same high standards and high expectations. You just had to figure out, kind of what they were. So even though there's still high expectations, you can do it a bunch of different ways. And so that's kind of what we had to do, moving forward, was turn and understand how CG wanted it done. And so that was kind of our fall, is, we worked hard and got after it in the weight room, got after it on the field, and just tried to take it all in stride and move day by day and get 1% better each day.
And one of the things that really stood out about that season, I don't recall the exact numbers, you may, but typically you have a 35-man roster, but that season, what the Pirates were really working with, about 27 or 28 players.
Yeah, I think we had anywhere from 27 to 29. It was kind of funny. We didn't have to post travel rosters every weekend. You just knew you were on the team and you were traveling, because that was the limit.
Yeah, no doubt. And but everybody that was on the bus, you knew they were all in. That goes without saying, with everything that Coach Cliff Godwin put you through in the fall as well as the preseason. But in that 2015 season, you started all but 2 games. I think you played in 58. You started 56. Led the team in batting average, batting nearly 350. But you saw some sparks from the get-go, but then there, I guess, mid to late April, you guys really hit a stride, winning 9 out of 10, and I remember those walk-off wins against NC State and Duke.
Yeah, definitely. That was a lot of fun. Just being in the dugout and being with the guys, and it's always fun no matter what level you're at. When you start clicking and rolling, and you walk a couple in-state foes off as well, that's always fun. And then the crowd's into it as well, so it just continues to build on it for sure. Get chills even thinking and talking about it.
And you guys went down to Clearwater for the tournament. And talk about that experience down there in Clearwater, making that run to the AAC title. And you played a tremendous role in that. You were named to the all-tournament team, and I think maybe the player of the tournament.
Yeah, I think that's what they called it. So I guess they ran out of people to vote for, so they gave it to me. But no, it was a lot of fun, man. It was, obviously I didn't get drafted, anything like that, but I would say that was the closest to minor league, big league, whatever you want to call it, baseball we played, because we actually ended our year at Cincinnati. And so we went up to Cincinnati on a Wednesday, played 3 games at Cincinnati, flew straight from Cincinnati down to Clearwater, and were there for about 2 weeks. So it was kind of baseball in the purest form. We were done with school. You didn't have to worry about any of that. You were literally just, if you had an off day, you were practicing and lifting. And if you didn't have an off day, obviously you were playing. So we got to focus strictly on baseball, and it was a lot of fun just to hang out with your teammates, wake up, go eat breakfast with them, go to the park, either play or practice, do whatever. And you just basically spent about 3 weeks, it felt like, with your teammates. And so that was kind of baseball in the purest form, and was a lot of fun, obviously, because we were winning and able to win the tournament and in our first year in the AAC and get rolling and go to the Miami Regional as well.
Yeah, you talk about that Miami Regional. You referenced closing out the year at Cincinnati, all that time on the road. You go to Clearwater, and then you turn right back around and head down to Coral Gables for that regional. You think it was just a matter of, with that limited roster that we've already talked about, being 7-8 guys down, that it was more just a matter of the team being exhausted and out of gas than it was of, just not necessarily, doing what you need to do to win the games and there in the regional against Miami or Columbia, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we were some fatigue set in, but can't sit there and blame it on that. We didn't play our best in those two games. I think the Columbia Regional, we had a few things, or Columbia game, we had a few things not go our way, and then I want to say, if I remember correctly, against FIU, I think we got beat 2-0 if I'm not mistaken, and we just didn't do what we needed to do to push some runs across. So I mean, I think maybe we were fatigued a little bit, but we just didn't play our best baseball. We felt like we got hot at the right time into the conference tournament and rolling down, but when we got down to Miami, we just didn't play as well as we felt like we could have, and that was kind of the result of
it. Talk about the relationship you had with some of those guys on that team, guys like Eric Tyler, Charlie Yorgan, guys who had been brought in by the previous regime, and bridging that gap between the Billy Godwin era and then also the Cliff Godwin era.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the group of guys was pretty much all the same, other than the incoming freshmen that came in. So I mean, we all kind of went through it all together through the change, and that was what was together from the start. And when I came in, that's who I knew, and still talk to quite a few of those guys today. Chuck, Luke Lowry, Eric Tyler, Parker Lamb was on that team. A lot of guys. Brandon Saunders was on that team for a while with us, and a lot of those guys I still talk to this day. So that bond of just going through all of it together, and I guess that's the unique thing about baseball in general, man. You just create those relationships with people, and I could, even when I go out on the road with UNCG and I'm in a town of those guys, I'll pick up the phone and call them and ask them what they're doing, and we'll try to schedule something together or whatever it is. So, I mean, I think those relationships are great, and always, go back to it and fall back on it. Still talk to those guys quite regularly.
You referenced not getting drafted. So talk about your path into coaching. You also talked about your dad being a coach, both in the high school ranks and at Brunswick Community College. So is that something you knew, that whenever you did hang the cleats up, you wanted to take that same career path?
Yeah, definitely. Basically after the fall, we had our end of the fall meeting, and I sat down with Coach Godwin, Coach Cliff, and I said, CG, if this doesn't work out, I would, I still had some hours left. I had an internship left to do. And I was like, I would like to stay around the program as much as possible and learn and continue in that direction to be a coach. And he said, well, if that happens, we'd love to have you. So I was fortunate to be able to do that and do my internship with the baseball program as a student assistant in 2016. And so that fortunately led me into the coaching altogether, and then the rest is kind of history.
So after that experience, take us, I know you're currently in your third season with Billy Godwin there at UNCG, but, tell us, after your student assistant experience at East Carolina, your path.
Yeah, definitely. So I went to Lewisburg College for 1 year, and I was there, and I had originally called my dad and was like, do you have any openings? Do you have any assistants? He was like, or do you have any assistants leaving? And he was like, no, don't have any assistants leaving. I said, okay, well, I need to figure this thing out. I want to coach, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to figure it out. And so Coach Blake Herring actually reached out to Coach Cliff Godwin at the time, and ask if he had anybody that would be interested in coaching. And so he got in touch with me, and I was fortunate enough to go work for Coach Aaron and his staff over at Lewisburg for 1 year. I was the recruiting coordinator there, and loved it. Felt like we had a good thing going. And then my dad called me as soon as the season was over and was like, "Hey, my assistants are leaving. I'd love for you to come back and help me, but it's completely up to you." And so that kind of went down, and I thought about it long and hard, and then was like, I played there. I think it'd be awesome to go back and work where I played and get to work under my dad and kind of take some of what I've learned and try to put it on a twist with what he's already taught me and what he knows. And so I was really excited about that opportunity, and moved back home and was there for the fall. And about right before Thanksgiving, Coach Cliff called me and asked, told me that he had the position open and asked if I would be interested. And I didn't even think twice about it. I said I'd love to. And so he had me come up, and we met and went through the process of it. And he told me he'd let me know. And then right after Thanksgiving, pretty much, he gave me a call and was like, "I want to offer you the job." And so I took it and ran with it and enjoyed every second of that as well. Learned a lot from that staff, and which led me to kind of where I am today over at UNC Greensboro.
Yeah, and touch on that, everything you have going on there with UNCG now. I guess your first season was the 2020 season, so very limited schedule. Played about 15 games thereabouts. So just talk about reuniting with Coach Billy Godwin and everything that you guys have been able to accomplish and are seeking to accomplish there in the Southern Conference.
Yeah, definitely. I was, fortunate enough to obviously play for Coach Billy, and then when I found out he got the job here, that process kind of started, and we talked on the phone a few times, and obviously interviewed, and he hired me to come here and work with the infielders and kind of head up the recruiting efforts. So that's kind of where I've been for the last few years. And yeah, the first season was COVID shortened, and then last year was pretty much messed with by COVID as far as how we had to do our conference weekends, playing doubleheaders every weekend, like most conferences across the country. So we're really excited about what we have right now and where we're moving and the direction we're headed. And we're excited to hopefully have somewhat of a normal season. Don't want to jinx it, but moving forward, just excited about what we have, and glad to be back on the field, getting some scrimmages in, inter squads in, and moving forward. But we're excited with where we're at and the direction we're headed. Just ready to, I think our guys are ready to see somebody else in another uniform.
No doubt. As we're recording this, or not recording, but live here on Friday, February the 5th, we're just 2 weeks away, and we'll have baseball on February 19th. I'm really looking forward to it as always. But taking a look at your team specifically, who is it that you open up with this year?
We actually go down to Columbia and play at South Carolina. So we open up the 18th down at South Carolina.
That's right. I know here within the last week and a half, when we caught up with Coach Billy Godwin on our NCD1 baseball preview, and I remember you guys had a very tough start of the season, but an awesome opportunity to make some waves right out of the gate.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's good for our guys to put them in the atmosphere early and go down and kind of see what we're made of early. Obviously we just want to focus on right now getting better day at a time and keep moving forward in that direction. And hopefully whenever the time comes, the guys will be ready to go, and good atmosphere, and just excited to see them get out and compete.
Final thing I have for you, Hunter, just obviously a lot of these stories, they'll remain untold, but is there anything that you can share, from your time playing for Coach Cliff Godwin, maybe a funny story or two that maybe, I don't know, happened in a workout or on a road trip that you can share with Pirate Nation?
Cool. I don't know, honestly. I would say more so when we were coaching, me, Coach Godwin, and Pete Biscano, when we were down in 18 in the conference tournament. we're not really superstitious, honestly. We just kind of worry about making sure we prepare and do what we need to do. But it got to a point where there was an ice cream place across from the hotel, and one night we lost, and so we're like, you know what, we're gonna go eat our emotions. Let's go get some ice cream. So we walked across, we got ice cream. Well, we won. So we got done with dinner the next night. We're like, crap, we got to go get ice cream. It worked for us. So basically, we ate ice cream about 4 to 5 nights in a row to get us through to win a conference championship. So, we like to think that the players did it, but I think the ice cream had something to do with it.
No doubt. That's one of those things, obviously, and just athletes in general, coaches as well, are a lot of times superstitious, and it seems like it may be even more common in the game of baseball than some other sports. But yeah, that is a funny story. It seems like I maybe recall hearing that from someone.
Yeah, I was about to say if they've played in Clearwater, they've had ice cream from the shop across the street for sure.
And then on the negative side of things, I think this was after your time, since you've, probably when you were coaching with your dad, or maybe even once you were at UNCG. But there was a Clearwater experience where I'm trying to remember the name of the game. The players were playing it on the beach, and maybe somebody got injured, and Coach Cliff Godwin put a stop to that pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, that was definitely not during my time. I don't remember that one.
But Hunter, really appreciate your time this afternoon. We know you're busy preparing for the season, and we'd love to have you back on sometime down the road.
Yeah, Bubba, thanks for having me, man. Always a joy to talk to you and get to talk a little bit about the old days.
No doubt. Pirate Nation, if you've missed any of these 23 Jungle Tales thus far, our most recent was actually a rerun, an episode that we did a year ago with Calvin Brown. Unfortunately, we lost Calvin during early to mid-July, I think July 11th to be exact, of 2021. So we replayed that conversation with Calvin, also caught up with Matt Bridges and Cam Colmore, and a former Pirate right-handed pitcher from the Gary Overton era, from 1988 to 1991, John White. All those are available on our YouTube channel, so check those out. Be sure to subscribe, ring the notification bell, so anytime we drop new content, you'll be alerted on your device. For Hunter Allen, I'm Bub Rosenbaum, and you've been watching and listening to the Sports Objective and 23 Jungle Tales, brought to you by pgxgloves.com. Take care, everyone.